I have to stop at every second to do it. Basically, you just watch the video, slow it at like 0.25 seconds, and just read the guide while looking at it. You want to do a commendation. I mean, I can't even speak as fast as what I'm doing. So like here, you want to use Radiant Shield before your pet is to abuse it. The reason why you can do this is because Radiant Shield is on the slot of Shockwave in Garuda. So you look here, right? It shows Radiant Shield is off cooldown, right? And then if when I change to Garuda, let me see. And when I change to Garuda, you look at Radiant, it shares the same cooldown. So the only reason why you
Yeah.
can do this is because the cooldown slots are different, the skill slots, which is kind of weird, right? You would think that Radiant Shield is together with Contagion, but it's not. So yeah. So what you do is you get to abuse this by using Radiant Shield first, and then casting a pet, resummoning it, so that you can use Garuda. So it's a free Radiant Shield. Actually, yeah, I can just go through it. Okay, so this is the first optimization point, and then can we just go at 0.25? Okay, you summon a pet. Okay, I use diversion here. Okay, so here I pre-pop rouse. The reason for this is that remember that you want to use ether flow as early as possible, and they are just not sufficient OGCD slots to use rouse later.
Mm-hmm.
So we are pre-popping it, and the reason
Without
why this
clicking.
is not as bad as it sounds is because of a trick that we shown in the next second. Wait, did I even use the thing? Uh, okay, so I cast Ruin Tree. I'm pre-casting Ruin Tree, right? You see that I'm clicking Obey right now. So what I'm doing right here is that I'm ordering my pet to pre-cast as well. So right now you can treat as if you're two separate entities. So you're pre-casting on your main character while pre-casting on your pet as well. Okay, so you cast Ruin Tree and then you click Obey because Windblade is a 1 second cast time, which is a lot shorter, but it has some sort of delay as well. So you can just click Obey right after clicking R3, and then I click Contagion. So when I click Contagion, what I'm doing here is that I'm trying to queue Contagion to be casted right after Obey. So the reason why you want to do this is that when you do this right, uh, it makes the pet casting Contagion a lot more consistent because you're already queuing beforehand. If you just wait for the Wind Blade to go out before casting Contagion, then in a sense you're not queuing, and if you don't queue stuff, it tends to be a bit delayed. All right,
Mm-hmm.
so you click. And next thing you see is that, so right after pressing Contagion, even though it's not gone off yet, as you see, I'm clicking my pod already. So in general, the reason why you appears that I like to click a lot of stuff is because I'm clicking for the things that are pretty unresponsive. So I'm meshing on a pod, I just have a higher chance to like get it down. And the thing as well is that you would not want to have everything on the keyboard, because imagine that if you're pressing, let's say if you have all of your skills on the keyboard right now. I mean, even for my pet skills, they're on the keyboard, right? So what you have to do is that you click Control 5, Control 2, Control R, and then while you're pressing Control R, you have to click alternate F, alternate E, and then you click 1, and then if you have a port button, you need to click 1 and you click alternate 3, and then you have to click Control 6 for try disaster right after. So you're pressing like 8 buttons in a row. So, and I personally feel that unless you are like super good at, you're like a pianist or something where you can type really accurately and move your fingers that fast, you will tend to click more. So it makes no sense for me as to why you shouldn't just use your mouse for half of the skills, especially the ones that don't go off. Like imagine like if you assume that your pot will go off and you try to just try disaster, and then you realize that shit, my pot didn't go off and I'm using try D instead. And there's time taken for your fingers to shift from like alternate 1 to control 6. I mean, even if it's just like 2 and 3, right? You have to physically wait for the 2 to be done before like switching your fingers to 3. And that itself can cause some delays. All right, so that is the
I
rationale
think some lost though.
behind clicking, because you have a lot of things to click. You realize. Okay, so now you see that the pot goes off, and then I use try D. You actually see here that this is where my major mistake in this video is. It's probably the only mistake. Is that my ping was too good this run, so my try D actually happened before contagion went off.
Wow.
You see,
I really
my ping was too good. In 90%, 95% of the cases, this will not happen. All right, so if you look at it slowly, I think if you put it at real time, no one will ever realize this unless you look at the logs. But yeah, the dot appeared before contagion. Okay, so the next GCD that you cast. This was the old rotation that I used actually. So what you should do instead of Fester Pain Flare, uh, it makes more sense to use Fester and Kindle first, or Fester Ether Pack. Okay, I'll explain why later in this video. So you see, I'm doing this rotation. So remember one thing about Swift cast is that it doesn't consume when you use the instant cast. So you can see right now I have Swift cast buff on. When I click Ruin 2, it's still on. Alright, so this is to bait out a Ruin 3 entrapment trance. So see here, I'm casting faster, and I'm going to entrapment trance. So see right now, right, I'm using a Ruin 4, and it's going to exhaust, you consume this Swift cast, and it allows me to use double weave my OGCDs in entrapment trance. If I didn't have this Swift cast there, I couldn't do this. I couldn't get the Ruin 3 cast in entrapment trance. So yeah, we talked about it. You want to fit your double OGCDs inside. And then you see here, okay? So at this point, right, you have to click area slash. This is super important. So remember that we casted Contagion. After Contagion, we casted Enkindle. After Enkindle, we're going to cast area slash. And you have to mash this button a lot, because if you don't get area slash off at this particular point of time, right, you are going to lose the area slash before Bahamut. And which is the reason why in the updated rotation, instead of using Fester Pain Flare, I use Fester and a pet skill first. It's so that this becomes less tight. Because you can imagine, right? Okay, like I mean, in real time, correct? You are casting Ruin 4. Okay, you're casting Ruin 4 using Shadow Flare, try D, and then you have to click area slash at the same time to queue it. And then click on Ruin 2, Death Flare, Ether Flow. So I mean, this is part of the execution. So if you find this difficult, then yeah, you have to do a lot of practice to do it. So I mean, it seems easy now because it's so slow, but when you put it at normal, then it appears a lot faster. And you have to do this in a precise order. So if effectively you're doing like a triple weave, click. And so while you're simultaneously pressing area slash, you're going on to your rotation. Okay. So if you use Enkindle a bit earlier, 1 GCD earlier by swapping around Enkindle and Pain Flare, then you can use area slash a bit earlier as well. So the reason why area slash is taking so long to go off, even though I've been clicking it for a long period of time, is because of Enkindle. Enkindle takes some time to cast. So if you shift Enkindle earlier, then the rotation becomes less tight than it should be. Okay, so
Okay.
we ended, okay, so continue, we use try D, and then we use Death Flare immediately. Okay, so one neat trick about this as well is that you realize that you get ether flow a bit earlier as well before your next GCD. So you're doing Ruin 2 Death Flare ether flow instead of maybe like Ruin 2 Death Flare Lucid Dreams or like or another OGCD before using the next GCD for ether flow. There was an old rotation that did that. Basically you do like Ruin 2 Shadow Flare Death Flare, Ruin 2 ether flow. But this is better because you're doing Ruin 2 Death Flare ether flow. So you get ether flow like 1.5 seconds earlier, which will matter because of TA timings. But we'll talk about that later. Okay, so immediately after that, uh, we go back to the point where we talk about remember the neat trick about ether flow, casting faster every 2 GCDs. Okay, so you have to do this. You have to make sure that you do this properly. Right, so it's Ruin 2 faster into 1 hard cast, Ruin 4, and then Ruin 2 again into faster. So the updated rotation includes mana shift here. So you realize that if you look at this point, is that even though I cast Ruin 2, faster is not up yet. So you can actually mana shift faster here, and it will still be fine. Let's go at 0.5. Again, another Ruin 3. Ruin 2 again. And it's the last festa. So you realize that throughout this whole duration, right, it's the most minimal amount of GCDs cast and festa being casted on cooldown. You have to make sure that this is like that. The reason being, you look at your pot duration, it's at 5 seconds right now. 3, 2, 1, try D. So within that first 20 seconds of your rotation, first 30-second rotation, at any point of time, if you clipped, you lose this try D in potion. Or if you're lagging, you lose that as well. So this is extremely essential that you do it right. When I mean right, it's not just about getting the GCDs right, but queuing things right as well. So making sure that you're pressing buttons early so that they queue. Because there are a lot of buttons to press. Yeah, Q, you had a question?
No, I'm just saying it's just a little bit tight.
Yeah, it's little is it's an understatement. Yeah. So like for Vim, I don't know if you can do this. I personally think you can't. You probably lose it. Okay, so we'll talk more about it as well. There's a reason why you are using try disaster here. So you may think that it doesn't make sense as well. So okay, one thing is to keep the pot, right? But you realize that, hey, isn't my dots at 15 seconds? Why am I using try D? And you have to remember that these dots, right, are the super buff dots with litany, BV, and everything inside. So I'm essentially overriding half of my super dots to get this try D off. So the rationale behind this is that you have to use this try D at this particular point of time so that you'll be up for the Bahamut rotation 1 minute from now. Which is the reason why I was saying that all the fastest earlier on, right? Even if you don't care about this potion, you have to do it precisely as it is. Because if you do it later, this try D becomes delayed. And if this try D becomes delayed, your Bahamut will lose one OGCD and you lose one wave. So you're losing a lot of potency. It's a snowball effect whenever you mess up a rotation. It may not seem to matter now, but it matters later. Okay, so then this is the standard 5 ruin trees. Okay, I'll just skip. Okay, and here we are trying to be GC. Oh shit, why am I click? Sorry. Here we are trying to be GCD efficient as well. So you see that I cast Ruin 2, Death Flare, into Lucid Dreams. So I'm saving one OGCD here. I'm weaving double weaving. And then you see, so at this, why is it at this point do I want to use Lucid? If you have refresh, right, at this point you'll be like around 10 kmp. And if you have a lot of procs, you'll be overflowing. So this is the period of time where you are able to use a lot of ruin trees. Because you realize that, hey, my ether flow is on cooldown. I have nothing else up. I've already used all my ether flow stacks. I have no more Dreadman Trends. I have absolutely nothing. So this is the time where you can burn your MP with Lucid Dreams. So how much do you burn? You burn till your dots are about to end. So this is the next phase that you're looking at. You want to cast ruin trees till your dots go all the way down. At 5 seconds, this is also a point of part where it's essential that you get this right. You cannot delay this. You ruin and then you click rouse. Oh yeah, and I forgot about it also. See, I for this as well. So when you're casting your German trance here, right? Don't forget about your pet skills. So when you're casting your 4th or 5th ruin tree, your area slash is up. Make sure you cast this. If you tunnel on your own character and you miss this cast, then you're going to lose another area slash. Okay, so make sure you cast this at this precise point of time. You can want me later. Okay, so you move on, you wait till the dots go to 5 seconds. Cast Rouse on cooldown. See, it's at 1 second right now. I'm using Shockwave with Rouse to sync it down. And this is another point that is very, very essential. If you look at the way that I put my dots, right? Basically, both of it are up at exactly the same time. So one thing you want to note is that you don't want to clip your dots early, but you don't want to do it too late as well. So it has to be precise. And if you look at this, right, correct, it seems super precise, right? It's like exactly at 2.5 seconds, I click my smart tree. And then because bio takes a bit longer to show up. This is what you are trying to aim for. So if you think about it, right, correct, if I had clipped my German Trance rotation earlier. So let's say if here, if I had clipped to try and get 6 ruin trees here, correct? What happens is that it will negatively affect my dot application here because it won't be so synced. So you'll be pretty awkward in the sense that you either be too early or too late. In this case, you'll be too late. So it means that you'll be applying your Miasma tree when your dot is already at 1. Which gives you a really, really high possibility that you will lose 1 if not 2 ticks. Okay, so that's the issue about clipping in your rotation as well. So these are the points you have to note. Okay, so now you see here I've contingent up already, right? So I'm going to save contingent for Bahamut. You realize that after you finish reapplying your dots, right, everything else is coming back up again. So Ether Flow is coming back up, Swift Cast, Shadow Flare. And then here is a key point. You see here that I'm casting Shadow Flare on cooldown, even before Contagion. You know, theoretically you want to kind of cast it together, right? The reason why you have to use Shadow Flare at this particular GCD is that 1 minute down the road, if you are delayed by 1 GCD, you cannot get Shadow Flare in Dragon Trance. You look at it later. So you have to cast it precisely at this point. And then you look at it here. My Ether Flow is up. Area Slash is exactly just up, and I'm going to enter Contagion in the next GCD. So when you look back at this area slash timing, just treat of it as if you are doing a speed queue with yourself. So your speed queue timing is 1 minute 30, it ends. So at any point of time in your rotation, earlier on, if you had delayed your area slash by just 1 GCD, you didn't use it, you didn't queue it just as it comes off cooldown, you're gonna lose this. Which is the reason why I was saying that you should use Enkindle earlier on the earlier GCD instead of what I'm showing you in this video, because it makes the timing a bit more lax. You have 2 seconds to cast area slash instead of 0 or like 0.5 seconds. So that is the difficult part about the execution. And what you see here, right, is that it helps a lot in making your contagion timings fixed as well. Because if I'm casting, remember we talked about GCD, OGCD, GCD, OGCD. So if I casted area slash 1 GCD before and I queue contagion the next GCD after, this timing would tend to be very consistent of your contagion. So you always be at this time. So you look here, we have contagion. We click on it. The debuff is happening on the boss right now. Once I see the debuff is up there, I summon Bahamut and I do my Bahamut rotation. So there are a few things you note here. Look at the contagion timing, the debuff right now. You have to be very precise in this. Okay, so I use Swift Cast. Ruin Tree, Fester. So you look at it here, right? My dots are just about to fall off. I still have contagion up. And my Tri-D is just about to come off cooldown. So now again, if you look back, if you had delayed or clipped your rotation by 0.5 seconds at this point of time, at this Tri-D, if you had messed up here, it would have messed up your timings for Bahamut. Your dots would have fallen off. Right. Night's okay.
Night's okay.
Yeah, your dots would have fallen off and you will lose one room with cast. Okay, and remember that if you have clipped any part of the rotation earlier on, and if this dot reapplication at 1 minute 13, if you had clipped this, or if you had done that earlier, so like let's say if you've clipped the dots, right, and you don't want to reapply it at 1 second, so you just tell yourself, hey, you know what, instead of reapplying at 1 second, why not I reply at 4 seconds instead? So I reply at this GCD instead. Yeah, so at this point of time, if I clip earlier, I will reply my dots at this GCD instead. You may think it's alright because you're reapplying earlier, right? Oh, so I don't lose a tick. What happens in the end? At this point of time, your dots will have fallen off. So instead of 3-2, you'll be at 1-0. And you just use a Fester. So you have lost a Fester there for one of your dots. There's a high chance. So you try D. Look at the contagion, it's 2 seconds right now. The perfect rotation, you'll be able to get the last Fester off in contagion. And this happens exactly as contagion falls off. Which also means that at this point of time, the reason why I say it's good to make it consistent by using area slash and then contagion here is that this helps to make your rotation consistent as well. To fit in the contagion, I mean the Fester in contagion. So let's say if contagion went off earlier, correct, and you did a rotation, what will happen is that at this point of time, your contagion will have fallen off before your Fester went on. So this is how tight the timing will be if you are trying to get a perfect rotation. So it is all about execution. But is it difficult in terms of mechanics or wise? It's not really in a sense, because in whatever the mechanics is, you're just doing the same thing. You have to be a robot in a sense to do this spell. I did an Edo, and then at 2 seconds, I use it Agmon. And look at all these nice, beautiful numbers right here. So the reason why you see all of it stacking up is because it did the roam wave before the Arc one, and the Arc one was a direct hit crit. Okay, so as in this is evidence. That is evidence that 12 really did hit. All right, so immediately after Bahamut ends, you see area slash. It just comes on cooldown. Use it immediately. Same thing. And then you see here ruination. Remember we talked about ruination debuff. There's 2 seconds left. Cast a ruin 2 instead of ruin 1. So that you get this in. And then this is the phase where you see right, we have 4k MP. You just want to cast ruin once instead of casting ruin 2s or 3s. Because you want to save ruin 3 for your next contagion. Vim, are you still here? Is he gone already?
We lost him.
Isn't this the most interesting part? I don't know. Personally, I feel that this is more interesting than what I said earlier.
Hello.
Oh,
Are you still following? I guess not.
I muted Discord and listened to your stream instead, so it would sync up properly.
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay, so we carry on. We cast ruins again. Okay, then you see here. So at this point of time, right? Correct. You look at Rao's cooldown. It's at 1 second. Correct. And you look at your dots right now. It's at 5. So if you do this properly, you'll be able to do ruin 2. At this point of time, if Enkindo is up, you're lucky. You're safe. I mean, on average, it should be up. So this is the best case scenario. Why? Because you don't need to weave in Enkindo inside Remontrance. So you see, ruin 2, Remontrance, Tride. So this is the thing. So which is why every part is important. So remember, I was highlighting earlier on that this was key. That you have to use Rouse on cooldown at this portion at 1 minute 08. So if you had brain farted and forgot Rouse by 1 GCD, what happens at 2 minute 08? Your dots is at 3 seconds and you haven't used Rouse. And even though it appears that it doesn't matter here, because if you look at it right, after Rouse you reapply your dots, and then you just continue spamming Ruin, right? So you would think like, oh, whatever, man, it's fine. But when you go to 2 minutes, you are now no longer using manual dot applications to refresh. You're going to use Dredmon Trends because you have 3 stacks. Your Ether cooldown is at 17 seconds. Remember what we talked about, the latest possible time to use Ether Flow? This is an example of it at work. In fact, it does skip a bit, but you have no choice because you want to keep the dot timers synced. So you see, almost perfect timing. Try D at 1-1. And now you're going to do your Rune Tree rotation. And then remember here again, so now you see that Shadow Flare is just off cooldown. So imagine if at 1 minute 10 seconds, which is at this portion, if at this point you didn't use Shadow Flare on cooldown, at 2 minutes 10 seconds you live to regret it because you can't fit it in Dragon Trends, which is another 30 potency loss. So you Shadow Flare, you see how tight this is. I'm pretty sure if your ping is bad, you're not gonna get this. In fact, I don't get this sometimes as well. So I crit. And then see, I immediately use Ruin 2. Okay, this is the next part that is super tight. And that is the part that usually I will mess up as well. It's because Contagion is being an ass here. So if Contagion doesn't want to go off, remember that we have nothing to sync this with. So you see, right? I was lucky in the sense that Contagion went off early for this. We are doing the same thing here again. You see your dots are at 10 seconds. I want to get triple Festus in. So again, at this point of time, you cannot mess up your Festa rotation. You have to make sure to use 3 Festus in 10 seconds. If you miss it by half a second, then you are gone. Okay, so now here Contagion is up. Same thing, I want to use Ruin 3s or Ruin 4s. So even though my MP you see is at 3k, right? I'm going to... I mean, I was lucky in case I have a lot of Ruin 4 procs. But in general, you just want to keep using Ruin 3. Again, here you see is that your dots are at 1-1 and my Festa went off. So if you had clipped your dots earlier at... If you had clipped your dots earlier at... where is it? At this point. So imagine, right, if you messed up the rouse, and then because you messed up the rouse, you wanted to... you messed up your Dragon Trends, then everything gets misaligned. Because it's so precise. The Festa goes off. Okay, at this point of time, you realize that I actually lose a dot tick. Well, I mean, I think you would try to find a way to work around it. Like for here, right? If you can't make it, you could use a pain flare to make this a lot smoother, or use a ED. Just that if you use the ED, then you're losing like 100 potency. So there are always ways to compromise here and there. It's just that you're losing things out. As in, what I'm trying to show you is like the theoretical maximum that you should do it in the class, but yeah. Alright. So the next thing you note here is that, okay, I mean, here the sad thing is that my dots actually do for like 1 GCT. But it's kind of unavoidable. What you want to get here, right, is that you want to get Tri-D in Contagion. And then I just use Shockwave here. In a sense, actually, I made a mistake here. Was Contagion, was Shockwave up already? Yeah, see, at this point of time, right, I was kind of tunneling. You can argue that it wasn't a tunnel, but you see, at this point of time here, I could have clicked Shockwave, and it would have been inside Contagion. But I was so focused on getting my Fester off in my dots that I forgot, you see. I didn't use Shockwave here. And what happened in the end was that only at this point when I finished doing Tri-D, I thought about the pet. And it doesn't go off. I just lost Shockwave in Contagion. That's a mistake. Same thing, I'm using area slash on cooldown. And then you realize that here lines up very nicely. You get to do Ruin 2, Death Flare, Lucid again. Just remember now that your MP is actually really low, so spamming Ruin 3 might not be a very good choice. But I'm still spamming it here because I'm doing I'm still doing it a 3-minute pass. So I just want to end at 0 MP. Same thing. Rouse on off cooldown. Why is this important? Because you're going to go into your next Bahamat rotation. So you see Rouse, ether flow, 20 seconds. Same thing, you look at it, right? The dots timing are so precise. It's the same thing, it's a repeat of phase 1. At 5 seconds, 5 seconds dot time, Rouse again. Same thing, reapply dots. At any point of time during the entire 3-minute rotation, if you have messed up somewhere in your dot timings, then it won't be so nice. And naturally, it's a repeat from here in a sense. So you want to use Shadow Flare cooldown. If you look at it here, right, an observation you'll find is that Contagion is actually later, even though it's supposed to be a repeat. Okay, it's not a Contagion is later, it's that Area Slash has a bit more leeway in this case. You have like 5 seconds instead of 2 seconds. Contagion is not late in the sense that I'm still using Ether Flow on cooldown, and Contagion is still up. Same thing. Contagion, spam, spam, spam. Okay, see, here you see, so this is something that you have to do it from experience. So is that if I want to always get Contagion in Tri-D, right, correct? I have to force myself to clip. So you see here, in this particular case, Contagion is acting out on me. It doesn't want to go off cooldown. So I'm already 2/3 into my GCD when Contagion is casted. So what I do here, instead of casting Ruin 2 and not clip and cast Bahamut, but if I do this, what happens is that I will be casting Ruin 2 casting Ruin 2 first again, and then entering Bahamut at later for GCD, which means that when I really enter Bahamut, I'll only be left with like 12 seconds of Contagion. So at this case, what you should do is that you should just clip your GCD. So if you look at it, right, my GCD is already off, and I didn't queue Bahamut. The reason why I can't queue Bahamut here is that I have to physically look at the debuff appearing before I can press Bahamut, so that I don't lose this.
Nice. So if you ruin 2, it would delay you'd have to wait for the GCD to tick almost the whole way around before you could Bahamut and then.
Yes, if I want to get 12 room waves. And that would mean that my Contagion would be at, you see, right? Okay, so I'll be Bahamuting at this GCD at this point of time, and you see that Contagion is at 12 seconds. So why does this matter? It's the same thing as before. Look at your Tri-D and your Festus. So you realize that you this Ruinfall proc will usually be there because of the number of pet skills you have.
One wave can trigger Ruinfall, right?
I mean the trigger is, to be honest, is useless because it's kind of laggy in a sense. Like the moment you hear it, you can't just press your GCD. It's too late by then.
No, I mean it's highly likely to be up because Bahamut's using so many skills, right?
Yeah. That's the reason why Ruinfall should probably be up. And the same concept applies to your dots as usual. If you look at it, it's almost going off. And then Ruin 2, and then Fester. Ruin 2, Adel. Ruin 2, Akmon. And then you see here, Area Slash is off cooldown again. And then you're supposed to click. So you look at it here, right? Here I'm already making a mistake already. But I'm not caring about it because I ended pass. So you should be casting Area Slash. So if you look at it, right, the reason why it's kind of repeated from here, because at this point of time versus 1 minute 36. Let me see. it's exactly the same. Everything is off cooldown exactly the same. So you look at this area slash this rouse cooldown is at 16, ether flow at 33, and Kindle may not, and Kindle might change because of the Ruin 4 procs. And then you look back at this portion.
Wormblade.
Same thing, rouse is at 16, ether flow is at 33, 34, area slash is up. Let's say in this case you see that Enkindle is up early because I had a lot of Ruin 4 procs. But I would generally suggest that you should still wait for rouse. But the problem, okay, so one problem in this rotation, right, correct, is that if you are extremely unlucky, so at this point, right, so instead of getting Enkindle up here, right, let's say you get Enkindle at the end of Dreadmon Trance. This is the most dangerous time to use Enkindle. I would suggest not to use Enkindle here. Problem being, if you Enkindle here, your container is going to be massively delayed. And what's the problem if your contingent is delayed? If your contingent is delayed, then you can't do this anymore. Your contingent will be, instead of 2 seconds, this will be like 5 seconds or 6 seconds.
It'll be out of sync.
Yeah. You should have messed up the whole rotation. So yeah, that's the end of the. How long do we take for that? I don't know. Actually, maybe I can. It's not that difficult. Yeah. So basically, this is more or less all the optimization involved in this general rotation.
Wormblade.